the original Beethoven, we talked about it, like, it's got, like, the picture of him over the turkey and everything, so it's kind of a Thanksgiving movie.
Mm.
I would like to posit that this is also a Thanksgiving movie, because much like Turkey, this movie was just trying to put me to sleep.
Yes.
It's true.
Welcome to Rough Cuts, everybody. God, this movie. There's nothing to talk about, right?
I mean, okay. First of all, hello everyone.
Yeah.
I'm here. We're
It's
doing
Boix.
the show.
It's me, Ilian, and then my lovely wife, who liked this movie as a child and had all of the merchandise, so she
Yeah.
must answer for her crimes on the podcast.
And I'm questioning my childhood sanity now.
Yeah, this is Tanya, my wife, and oh man. Yeah, why did you buy merchandise for this?
So I think the problem is I probably didn't actually like this movie that much even as a child, but the puppies and Beethoven are really, really cute. And I think that just brainwashed me into buying all of the merchandise because I still lose my mind over cute animals.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty sure that's to blame for my love of this franchise. Even though the merchandise for it wasn't even that good either. I was just looking it up online and it all looks awful. Like my favorites were the stuffed animal line they had. Those were my favorite toys for many years. I had a large stuffed Missy, and my friend bought Beethoven, and we played with those. And then they released the line of the children. So I had Tchaikovsky, and she had Dolly. And that was all we played with. And I think in Canada, they didn't release Chubby and Mo to us. You could see them online. Like,
Wait, you only get half of the
you
puppies?
only get half. So
Wow.
I always wanted Mo so bad because his mohawk was so cool.
They
He's
can't
such
just
an cool
import
dog.
all the puppies. Like, those are region specific. You have to go to different regions. It's the Pokemon Go of 1993, but with
Jesus.
Beethoven plushes.
You have to find a friend in Japan to ship you the chubby dog.
Yeah, I need the Japanese Laserdisc version of Beethoven's the Second. Can you, send that over? That'd be great.
Which is an actual thing. We were looking at some of the merchandise around this movie because honestly some of that is more interesting than the movie itself. Like this movie is very specifically designed to be merchandise. More than most movies. And it had like a SNES game and stuff like that, and it's awful. But one of the things that I found really funny about it is that the SNES game has just this horrible loop of Beethoven's music in the background.
Yes.
But that is way more music from Beethoven than the movie uses. Which
They
surprised
use, like,
me.
4 seconds in the movie.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
it was used as one little zinger in a dramatic spot with the puppies on the mountain, and then you never heard any Beethoven compositions again.
Well, and what
Yeah.
surprises me about that is that I was positive they would use a lot of Beethoven's music because it's free.
public domain, right?
Yeah, it's
free.
public domain.
Th-
You can just
this
get
movie-
it for free. This movie
movie
absolutely would do that.
All about penny pinching and saving as
God.
much money as possible so they could, like, destroy a house set, and that was all they spent all their money on. Everything
Yeah,
else
they
is
did do
just
that.
free
I forgot
sets.
they had the...
Although,
Yeah.
if you notice, there was that scene in the kitchen where they had the song Shout playing, and it's like they probably had to pay good royalties to have that as a scene music.
The
That's
rest of the
true.
music was all made for the film or for the previous film.
It was all made
It-
for the...
like-
it was
like
not
there
made
was-
for this film. It was made
there-
for the previous
Yeah.
film, and they just took it.
There was a Superman Kryptonite knockoff. There was a
Yeah.
Two Princes knockoff. Like, you could clearly tell they wanted music, but man, they did not have the budget for that music, so they compromised.
Yo, there's a lot of compromise in this movie. They start out like... So the actual movie, the movie itself starts out with, and get used to it, a montage. It has all of the family getting ready for work and stuff like that, and they're kind of going through their day. And they have Beethoven doing doggo vision, which is another thing you have to get used to for this movie, where it's a low camera shot as if it's meant to be the dog, and it's just shaky and awful, and it's just a way to pad everything. So they show all of the different characters from the other like parts of the film, like the whole family at piece by piece doing their mourning. There is some really good stuff at the beginning of this movie that made me kind of hopeful. Like the paperboy just randomly showing up. And they never really resolved this. Like it was just a throwaway thing where they have like a couple of scenes with this paperboy, but they never show why the paperboy hates the dad or anything. But he comes up to the house and he goes, "Oh, hey, you called the pigs on me." And the dad's on the phone, so he doesn't hear this. So the paperboy just like nails him with a paper and hits the coffee cup in his hand. So Dad's a snitch, and the paperboy is totally justified in using this against him. And it was amazing.
What frustrates me the most about the paperboy is it's a good setup. They have the paperboy knock off, his coffee mug. Later on, he like breaks a potted plant above his head. So the whole point of the paperboy is to create a punctual scene where comedy ensues. And they didn't fucking use it for the end credits. Like, right at the end of the movie, right before the credits start, they didn't have the paperboy just lob a fucking newspaper at. That's all they needed to do. Or,
like, him get his revenge at the paperboy or something.
Like, comedy setups should usually be in threes. Like, you have the two setup ones and then, like, a payoff one. And they never had any payoff. They just had these two
it just happens.
Random... This movie's just random scenes.
It really is. This is the most random scene movie we've ever seen.
My biggest regret is not counting how many montages were in this movie.
There's a lot.
You can't count them all. They bleed into each other. So like the beginning, because it goes Doggo Vision montage of all of them getting ready, but then it immediately bleeds into the second montage. So like, is this two montages or one? Because the next montage is Beethoven sneaks out of the house after all of them get ready and goes out and sees all of these dogs on dates, I guess, because they have... by the way, you got to make sure you know that it's a girl dog by putting bows in their hair.
Yeah,
this movie does that a lot. You know that there's boy dog and girl dog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just put a bow in it. So he goes out and sees all of these dogs on like doggy dates with like a dog with a bow and a dog that doesn't. And that's another montage. Like that's another 5-minute montage. So is that all one montage and it's a morning montage, or is that two montages? This is what I mean. Like you can't count all of them.
Montage in a montage. We're getting into montage inception here.
Yeah, we need an inception noise for sure.
Holy hell! It's
bad. We did have dream montages.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what this movie was going for.
Yeah, it actually does start with the dream too. Actually, like Beethoven's sleeping and everybody's giving him a steak of some kind or some kind of meat. Yeah, it's wild. I love that they set up, like, there's so many little good scenes at the beginning. So he goes out and he finds another Saint Bernard, and then this woman shows up to take the Saint Bernard away because she's getting it in the divorce from this husband
from
guy.
Some other guy who's just there.
Who's just there for, like, 2 scenes in the movie. That's it. And he shows up here, and then he shows up at the end to be like, "Oh yeah, I've got my dog back," and that's it. But this girl,
what a good character,
Saint Bernard, that he finds and is dating. Like the guy helps them on a doggy date. It's weird. Like he sees this other dog that's off leash, and instead of just like taking his unspayed dog away, he buys them ice cream and just watches them go on a date. It's really creepy and weird. But this woman shows up, and this movie is so obvious. It's amazing. She is wearing like a suit and everything, like, so it's like power suit from the 90s woman with like these big arching eyebrows, and the music over it is like dun 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 dun, and it's like, oh my god, yes, we get it. So he's got a dog not on a leash, and he bought another ice cream for a different person's dog so that it can fuck his dog. This dude's a fucking freak. He nasty. Am I wrong?
No.
I don't want to be right, but I don't think I'm wrong. This lady seems like she's probably nice.
She looks German. She's a little bit of a leather dominatrix Cruella de Vil.
Yes. Yep.
That's her character.
Yeah, she's an S&M dominatrix Cruella de Vil. She with a like Guido boyfriend. It's
what the fuck's up with that?
It's amazing.
Like, it's Jersey Shore? What?
It's just, yes, yeah, no. And he plays the same character that he does in Reservoir Dogs. Yeah, audience, this guy is in Reservoir Dogs the year before this as a pretty big character. Like, he's one of the main characters in Reservoir Dogs.
He also shows his moves and does stunts.
Yeah.
This guy.
It's Chris Penn is who it is, if you wanted to know who that is. But yeah, wild that they actually have, like, they have real actors in this. I'm pretty sure that it has a $15 million budget. Wouldn't be surprised if pretty much that whole budget was actors. Like, a very, very high portion of it had to be. But they have little montages of, like, setting up some of the characters, too. One of the other ones that was really good was they have the nerd kid, like the little boy, and he's getting picked for baseball, and they're doing the very stereotypical, like, oh, he's gonna get picked last. But they threw a twist in. They don't pick him at all. He's sitting there on the field, and the people are like, he's the last one left, and they're like, you girl that's in the crowd, and they like pull somebody out of the bleachers, and she's like, oh sweet, runs down, grabs the glove off of this nerd kid and like shoves him to the ground and then walks off, and they all go play baseball without him. That was so good. Like, there's no setup or payoff for that, but it's just there. There's so many scenes of this that are just like, there's no setup or payoff. It's just, as you said, Daniel, like, it's just a scene.
Yeah.
You remember when there was a scene where they were talking about how poor they are as a family and that they're trying to make a sports air freshener for your bag so that they can make money, and then that whole fucking thing means nothing and they just throw it away?
Yep. That was the thing that I was going to say, because you guys are talking about how...
There was literally no point to it.
You were saying how there's no setup and payoff for things, and we hadn't gotten to that yet, and I was waiting for it, because I'm like, I had written down the note, I'm like, at the end of this movie, Dad's poor storyline just fucking goes away.
Yeah, he's still poor at the end. They're still in debt.
Poor. He's more poor because now he has
Nothing
5
happened.
St. Bernards.
Yeah.
And they took out, like, this big loan. Like, there's this whole plot where Mom and Dad are talking about how poor they are and how they can't afford to go on vacation and they can't afford to do this and that. And he's really stressed out from work because he's trying to sell this air freshener because it's going to be the next big thing. And they take out a loan from the bank, but the bank won't, like, let them loan it unless they do this super high interest.
You're saying all of this, and it happens, but it doesn't fucking matter. They
have a full setup for a movie where, because they say, oh, you take this loan, and they're like, oh, well, like, what does that mean if we take this loan? And they go, well, if your product doesn't sell, you lose your house. So they set up, like, the stakes for the movie.
Well, and they even had matching dollar amounts. Like, Regina wanted to get $50,000 from her divorce, and then they needed $45,000 for their loans. So it was like, that seemed like setup that we're going to transfer some money between us somehow, and...
Like, there was going to be some kind of reward for something, or, like, the puppies were going to be worth amount of money, or, like, there was something there. Like, there was an early write of this script that had more there, where they actually resolved that, and then they just chucked it, because they just didn't give a damn. It's pretty amazing. For how much, like, this movie is just set up for merchandise, and it's just random scenes to have that.
This movie feels like 6, 70-year-old men sitting around a table talking about how to sell something.
Yeah, I mean, you pointed it out at one point, Boix, when we were watching it, where I was like, oh, God, I hate it. But you were totally right. You're like, hey, look, we've got one dog for each family member. And I'm like, oh, no. Like, it's really obvious and heavy-handed when it does that, too, because they're all begging the dad, oh, no, we need to keep the puppies. And... yeah, they all have one in their arms, like it's one puppy for each child, and you're like, oh no, right. They do that. Like, it's awful. But the idea of so, like, he goes out on his date, and then it shows, like, 10 weeks later, and they have the kid. So then suddenly they have puppies, and the kids follow Beethoven because they're like, hey, he's been sneaking out all the time because we're bad pet owners and we don't keep track of our dog and just let him run around the neighborhood. And we
don't get him neutered.
I was going to say, we haven't neutered him or anything. So they chase him down and follow him. They're like, I think he has a girlfriend. They find all the puppies. The woman tries to come and take them because, oh no, the puppies might be worth money.
In a black garbage bag.
Right, yes!
Yeah, that was fucking dark as shit.
Wow. Yeah.
Like they're just gonna put the puppies in a bag and throw them in a fucking well or something. Holy shit.
She comes in and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get those puppies." And as she runs down the stairs, she looks around for something to take them in and grabs a black garbage bag, which I mean, that's what you do to, like, murder somebody. This is like a gangster-style, like, execution where you put a plastic bag over someone's head. It's that kind of thing. It's like, Jesus, you don't need to kidnap the puppies. They're just, like, and they were supposedly just born at this point, too. But,
So-
yeah, the kids sneak away with the babies.
Real quick,
Anyways.
this movie had 3 writers. 3.
Oh, no.
The main writer is the same writer for Weird Science, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Planes, Trains, and
What?
Automobiles, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Home Alone,
Oh.
as well as Beethoven,
no.
Home Alone 2, all that. So
That's interesting because I was going to comment a lot of the physical humor later on, like in the mountains, reminded me of
Yeah.
Home Alone.
Yes.
this
Yeah.
is also the writer for 101 Dalmatians and Flubber.
God.
So there's like, I felt like there were moments of Home Alone in this movie, and it makes sense because he's just recycling shit that he already wrote.
And there's a lot of 101 Dalmatians overtones to
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Like this came out a
Yeah.
couple years before 101, but it's very definitely that story.
Well, yeah, she's trying to steal
for the live
puppies
action
and
anyway, because he
she's-
wrote the live action one. Yeah.
Yeah. But she's very Cruella DeVille because, like, she's
totally.
like you said, she's S&M Cruella DeVille. Like, they just basically make her look more dominatrix. She's got a chain that she's always carrying around to take the dog with her, and she like always has it in pretty much every scene. She's always got like she's almost holding it like a whip, like she's got it like stretched out between her hands. Like they kind of went for that visual with her for
When
whatever reason.
she's always ordering her boyfriend around like that he has to stand up straight or not
Yeah.
eat a certain way.
Oh God, that's true. Yeah, she kind of does that. They have this whole thing with her where, you know, there's nothing more terrifying and more villainous than a woman who actually, you know, has a career and wants to do things, has her life together. How
can't
dare
believe
she not be making kids and making meals for her husband and boyfriend? Like, she needs to stay at home and stop doing these things. That shows how evil she is.
I feel like this movie gives Snooki a bad name, and that is not You can put that on the box.
Wow. Just stamp that on the side of Beethoven's second.
Well, we were saying too, like she's supposed to be the villain. We agreed with her in her first scene because she rips the stupid bow off the dog because the dog doesn't need a bow to show what gender it is.
She immediately she's like, get this damn bow off the dog, and like takes it away. And I'm like, I kind of like this woman. She's got a career. She seems put together. The guy that was like originally had the dog that she takes it from. That's her ex-husband.
Yeah, the one she's
supposedly.
divorcing from like doesn't have a character. He's just Guy.
Well, no, but like he's feeding the dogs ice cream. Like he's feeding them strawberry ice cream. You don't feed your dogs ice cream.
Well, you do. No.
You can.
You get doggy cones everywhere, but it's always
Yeah.
vanilla because you shouldn't be giving dogs.
But that's what
weird
I mean.
artificial
Like, yeah, you
flavors.
shouldn't be giving. That's what I'm saying, though.
Or
Like, you shouldn't be
if you're
giving
in
them that.
Seattle, you get dog gelato.
Well, and like
Yeah.
feeding strange dogs that too,
Yeah.
and like trying to get like some weird off-leash dog to breed with your unspayed dog by buying them doggy ice cream date.
You don't
stuff.
think he was trying to breed the dogs within 2 seconds of seeing them? That's not what the movie was telling. Well, okay,
But what else was he doing then? Who finds a weird random dog and just starts buying it ice? Okay, actually, I would totally do that. Never mind.
That makes sense, yeah.
No, that dog was really cute. I would have absolutely done that. But yeah, I love that. Yeah, so like basically they're just, it's just this whole movie of them. It has them then raise the dogs for a while and like try and hide them from the dad. And there's this whole
New montage.
new montages of them hiding the dogs and raising the dogs. And there's just nothing. Like there's nothing that happens through all of this, right? Like
Well, after all of that nothing, they're like, oh shit, we've only shot the movie in 2 locations. There's the house and the back room of a veterinarian clinic. Those are the 2 places they've shot the film.
Yep.
Right? So they're like, oh shit, we have to get more locations. They go on a vacation to the woods where there's a fair that we can shoot at. Okay, whew, save money.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was
God.
absolutely they were like, okay, we need to get Charles Grodin, the main star of this, back, and get like Bonnie Hunt and like all these actors and actresses and stuff, because some of these are pretty big names. They're like, we need to get them all back. Okay, how do we do that? Okay, we're gonna have a $15 million budget. Most of that goes to the actors. Also, we're gonna shoot it on a lake. You guys just get to stay at the lake house, and then you can go to the fair, have a vacation. Like, that's absolutely how they sold it, right? Like, just go there and have some fun, mess around at the fair. Because we'll shoot for 3 days, and you can stay there for 3 weeks.
So they send our characters to the woods so they can do a bunch of panning shots of a lake and mountains and trees. And we forgot, there's also... Did you know that this movie's about love? Did you two know that? This movie's about love. Love's the theme.
It really hammers it in
movie.
so many times.
Love.
There's so many montages of boyfriends and girlfriends, whether they be dogs or humans.
So Teen Girl has a boyfriend who looks like Brian Kibler, which is a joke nobody will get. And and he drives around in a car and he's kind of a dickbag. But he's not. But he is. We'll find out. And then also nerdy guy has a girlfriend that he meets because reasons, and also family love each other, and also husband and wife love each other, and also dogs love each other, and love is a theme. There's love in this movie.
There's a lot of...
They got the love.
There's a lot of boning down, and I'm not just talking about the milk bone.
But
Which is a very obvious product placement later on.
There is product placement. But the problem is they fuck up the love theme, because later on, so Teen Girl finds cute, sensitive skeleton boy, which sounds worse than it is.
We have to say is Hyde from that 70s show.
Which is not a joke. That is actually who it is. And I first said, I'm like, oh my god, is that Francis from Malcolm in the Middle? Yeah. And they were like, no, it's not. Wait, it's his brother, which I didn't know. That's amazing. It's just like this. It's the most 90s thing you can imagine. It's just like all these references to like early 2000s. It's got all of those kinds of actors and tie-ins and stuff. Like just all those same types of people that you'll see in sitcoms and stuff. There's a lot of bit actors in this, essentially.
So Teen finds Hyde from That 70s Show in the That 70s Show's universe because they actually cross into another set. I'm pretty sure. They're shooting the Beethoven movie and then they cross into the That 70s Show set way before it ever got,
I mean, this whole movie looks like it's a sitcom. It's just lit like one.
The whole movie is flat lighting, close-ups, and set pieces, except for the woods and, like, maybe part of the house. I don't know. But, so, anyways, she takes Beethoven with her for a walk around the lake now that they're in the woods and they can shoot cheaply. Mm-hmm. And they wander into a house party, which looks like a house that probably has 4 rooms in it total, and a very large deck.
Yeah.
It's more deck than house, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, the deck is very obviously like a prop attached to this house, essentially.
Yeah. So they tie Beethoven to a load-bearing beam.
Over the lake, like in the most obvious setup imaginable.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, and then she goes up to the party. Everybody's drinking and saying white boy things like, yo, brewskis, bro!
I want to point out,
90s brew.
I've got to point out here, too, though, that, so, somebody explained to me, they went on this vacation because they got it for free, because there's this whole subplot about them being super poor, because, like, friend of the family or whatever has this lake house, and so they're able to go up there for free. Why is her high school boyfriend just at the lake house?
Yeah,
he's just there.
Every main character, except for like the guy getting divorced, like the Missy's owner thing, conveniently is at this mountain retreat going to the fair.
With the state fair, yeah, like for no reason at all. It is entirely plot contrivance.
The entire town decided to vacation in the same neighboring town.
Yeah, it is wild. It's really stupidly set up. I mean, well, it's not. It's not set up at all. That's the thing. There's just no setup.
It just happens.
It just happens.
Works. This is the Todd Howard of movies. It just works.
So they do the very stereotypical, like anti-booze kind of like, yo, you want a beer? Like, and they're doing frat boy kind of stuff, doing the cheers and all that kind of garbage. And they kind of set him up as nice guy where she's like, oh, I don't want a beer. And he's like, yeah, leave her alone. If she doesn't want a beer, she doesn't want a beer. And then they immediately 180 it where he takes her to his torture sex room. And I'm not joking. Little bit of content warning on this one, actually. he takes her up to a room that's the bedroom, but it has a deadbolt on it the wrong way so that he can lock people in, which that means you have to install that. Like, this dude has done this before. Like, they set this up as his torture room. Like, it's fucked up.
This lighthearted family comedy.
God, it's so weird. And then, they set that whole thing up, and he's got a keychain, and he's got a deadbolt that, like, so it's the wrong way, right? Like, the deadbolt's not inside. He can key lock it while he's in the room.
This is making me uncomfortable even reminding him.
But then he doesn't do that. He doesn't even key lock the deadbolt. He just uses, like, the bathroom style.
The little bathroom one, yeah.
Yeah, the little bathroom one, which you can obviously get out of, and then they still act like it's locked. And it's like, oh, God. You spent all of this money doing the set, and the actor, like, didn't even bother. He was just like, fuck it, I don't want to. And they just like, yeah, who cares? Nobody's going to know.
I'm going to be honest. At the beginning of this movie, I did not expect a, like, attempted rape scene in the middle of it.
No,
and
in our fun family
came out
comedy.
Of nowhere.
Yeah, it comes out of nowhere. Yep.
But okay, so she's in the room. Not Tommy Wiseau's The Room. That would have been a better movie. But she's in the room, and like she's like, "Oh, I don't know. This is not okay." And he's like, "Oh, well, too bad because we're gonna have the sex now." And Beethoven is downstairs getting water from beer bottles poured on his face because the drunk frat boys are assholes. And then Beethoven knocks down the load-bearing beam, which rips apart the entire deck, knocks everybody into the water, and tears off the entire fucking wall that douchebag dickhead is leaning against.
Not even
and
the
he
top
also
wall,
goes
the entire front wall of
the whole fucking wall. It's not just part of it. It's the whole fucking wall.
That one beam was load-bearing for about 50% of this entire house. Like,
it's actually, like, a good shot of a fall scene, like a pratfall scene into the water. There's good stuff there. But
they don't use a dummy for
everything
him.
around it fucking sucks.
Yeah, they don't use a dummy for him, unlike early on, which I actually didn't get to mention, which is where they had Mohawk, or or Mozart, because they call him that for his Mohawk, one of the dogs, and one of my favorite scenes of this movie, where he skateboards away from Beethoven, and Beethoven runs to catch him, and he like ramps off of something from like the garbage truck, and they have this very, very, very fake puppet dog like fall into a garbage bin full of like clippings from grass. I think it's grass clippings. Yeah, it's grass clippings, but it was very, very good. Whereas it's like very obvious, stiff, like dog toy, like fake dog, where it doesn't move at all. It's just like totally stiff, 100% solid. Like it's not even like a plush toy because it doesn't even move while it's in the air. Like it's just solid. This solid object that just goes leaping in this arc. It's amazing.
It's a good scene.
Yeah. On the topic of the dogs' names, even as a child, it drove me crazy that they named two of the dogs after composers like their father, and the other two dogs are like, this one's fat, we'll call him Chubby.
And this one's the girl, so we'll call her Dolly. That might have been the problem, because there's no real female composers that are super famous because they wouldn't let women do that kind of thing. So they probably were like, fuck it, we'll just call the last two other things. Who cares?
I 100% know why they called her Dolly, because they got Dolly Parton to do some of the music in the movie. So they called the dog Dolly as like a reference to Dolly Parton, which is kind of awful.
Yeah.
But the kids don't talk like kids in this movie either. Like sometimes it's weird.
I guess maybe Chubby Checker was like some weird off.
I guess that makes sense.
I guess maybe.
It doesn't come off as a reference.
No,
but that
it
might
doesn't.
Be it.
It doesn't. I doubt. I think that we are putting a lot more effort into thinking about these dog names than any of the writers did. That might not be fair, though, because they probably put a lot of effort into thinking about how they could advertise for them. They probably, they went and got a bunch of children from a mall, and were like, hey, kids, do you want to do some product testing for us? And sat them in a room, and then we're like, which dog name do you like the most for this dog? And they're like, Tchaikovsky?
Yeah. No, that could have happened.
They probably did that, and they were like, ooh, this dog's fat. Kids like chubby. Do chubby. We'll be able to sell more to kids that way. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But they have, yeah, so the party thing just kind of gets dropped after that. Like, that's the end of that whole arc. Like, they have the other boyfriend, Hyde from that 70s show up again. And he's just Hyde from that 70s show, by the way. Like, he rides a little motorbike.
That's his character.
Yeah, he has...
He's got his afro,
yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, he's got one earring, and, like, he's wearing skull shirts and stuff. Like, he's totally a hipster kind of character. It's pretty amazing. But, they just kind of end that whole thing like, oh look, attempted rape. All right, done. That's the end of that.
Yeah, let's never talk about that again.
Nope,
All
we're
right.
done and out. And then they have like the woman that was the villainess who has honestly been in the movie for about 3 minutes at this point. They set up that she's at the lake kind of thing, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna get those puppies back or whatever. Well, she's in this lake house full of dead animals because they have to set up that they're villains and they want to kill animals.
In universe, this is like 3 months later too.
Yeah, it's quite a while later, and they have my absolute favorite scene in this movie where she picks up a massager because she's like, oh, it's been a long day, and she grabs this massager, and she presses a button on it, and they have a sound go. Brrr, and the massager is very obviously off, and they just added the click and like on sounds. And she starts rubbing this very, very obviously off massager all over her head and neck and face and stuff. But like, it's close up to her face, so it's incredibly obvious that it's not on. And she's just rubbing this thing all over herself, going like, "Oh yeah, there you go. That's the good shit." It's like it's off. It's super off. Like, did nobody think to just plug it in? Like, reshoot it. They tried to use it and they were like, oh shit, the massager's broken. Leave it in. Like, it's so lazy.
They were off at this cabin in the middle of nowhere, and they're like, well, that's the only massager prop we got. I don't know what else to do, so just roll with it.
They weren't going to make another trip. You have to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, this was shot over, like, maybe a couple weeks. Maybe. They were not going to reshoot that.
No. Oh, that was so dumb, though. Like, that was like the epitome of how lazy this film was, because that's what I would like to typify this as. It's entirely padding. It's all montages of the dogs over and over and over and over, and it's just padding for it. Which, at least, I have to say, I'm much happier with this movie's version of padding than something like Air Bud 5, where it's montages of the kids doing, like, volleyball stunts for 30 minutes.
Oh, those sucked.
This one was montages of puppies, like, cuddling each other. So, at least there's that. Like, it was, all the montages were of cute doggies, and I was good with that.
It was like when you're, like, going through Instagram and you stop and watch a 30-second video of a cute dog. Like, it was the movie.
Yep.
Oh, you're right. It is that.
It's just, it's like dog compilation on YouTube. Like, if you just search up, like, cute St. Bernard dog compilation, and then you'll have watched Beethoven the Second. Because it's just little compilations of vignettes of things like that. So,
and
like,
there wouldn't be a rape scene in the middle of it.
Oh, God. Yeah, you wouldn't have to deal with that. They have, on that topic, I mean, so after that, she sets up that she wants the dogs back or whatever, because they're like, oh, shit, yeah, the movie still has a plot. One plot left because they just totally forget about the whole, oh, we're poor and we've got this loan and we're going to lose the house plot.
This was like 60 minutes in to
This is 60. This is
like
more
that.
than 60 minutes in. This is like an hour and 10 or something now. Yeah, the
Right near the
massager
end.
scene is an hour and 16 minutes in. I actually time-stamped it.
Oh,
so
God. So there's like 15 minutes for this whole thing?
Or
That
20
ending
minutes
did
left
not-
for it.
Yeah, oh my God.
15, 20 minutes left for the rest of the film. And it still goes on to montage after that, because then it's them at the fair the next day. And at the fair, it's just little vignettes of them doing things at the fair. So they have like an eating contest that's pet and owner. So they, of course, have to have the dad and Beethoven do a burger eating contest, which was truly disgusting. Where
That
it's
was
just a
the
bunch
Cell
of...
Wishbone and burger. Or not burger, it was Coca-Cola.
It was Milkbone and Coca-Cola at product placement all over in that scene, yeah. It was like... pet and dog owner eating competition brought to you by Milkbone, and then like in the middle of them eating burgers, they zoom in really close on them, like drinking from Coca-Cola glasses and stuff. And it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. This is where he had to make some of that money back. It already made $120 million at box office, but you got to have that product placement. So they just do vignettes like that. So there's like all these little scenes of things at the fair. Like there's a bully that steals tickets from this girl, and it's just so that the nerd boy can sick Beethoven on
the nerd boy is such a fucking loser. I have to be honest. I don't like this kid at all.
He's awful. He's just a little so shithead. Bad. He sucks.
He's like, I'm gonna sick my dog on you, bully. Hey, lady, how's it going? He's like moving his glasses with his fingers behind his ear like a fucking... What a dork.
Real bad, yeah.
Yet another thing where they should have done a build-up to, the nerd finally gets his revenge, but they only have the one scene of the nerd being a nerd, and then he's suddenly getting revenge on some random person. Like, he had no
just because it's not even one of the characters from the baseball game. Like,
no,
the guy picking them that didn't pick him, he could have got revenge on that. No, it's just some fucking random bully.
Yeah, no, they never set up that he's bullied by anybody. He just doesn't get picked at a baseball game, which, like, honestly, that wouldn't even be enough setup either, because I'd be mad if he just, like, if he sicked a dog on somebody because they didn't pick him for a baseball game. That's fucked up. Don't do that. That seems real bad. Like, that's not a thing.
That kid's writing feels a lot like Charlie Brown. It felt like he was just ripping off Charles Schultz, which is super weird to me.
Yeah, so it's just
I don't get it.
But so they just have all these little vignettes of them at the fair doing fair things, and they're all disconnected. There's no real point to any one of them. Like, they do the dog scene of them eating the burgers, and then they get a prize, but like they don't say that it's like a monetary prize. Like, imagine if they had done something like, I don't know, the patent owner eating contest gave an award, like say $45,000 for your house so that you can keep it. Maybe that would be some setup and payoff. You could do a thing like that. No, there's none of that. There's no payoff here. So the woman just randomly runs into them in the middle of the fair, and in the middle of the crowded fair, she beats up two small children and steals their dogs, and everybody just kind of goes, eh.
Yeah. It was bloody too. Like,
ooh. Oh yeah, it was. She's like pulse. She's whipping them with that chain she always has, all S&M style. Yeah,
whip them with the chain, wrapping around her hand, and just going knuckles in the face.
She did the get awful. Over here scorpion move, just like hooked into the little nerd's throat and like dragged him over to her. It was
meanwhile everybody in the fair is just eating their deep fried Twinkies and walking by. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, it showed some of the bullies like eating popcorn in the background, I think, just kind of watching.
Like, oh, this is great. Yeah.
That would have been a much better movie. But so and at the same time, Beethoven he sees the girl dog in the car, and he breaks her out of the car somehow. Like, they don't really show it. And so then
I guess Beethoven can open doors?
Yeah, and rather than having Beethoven go off with the puppies, like them going off, like him rescuing her, and then them going and finding their puppies, they're just like, no, fuck that. We're just going to leave all of the people behind and the fair and go into the woods and just spend a day together.
And, I assume make more puppies, because this movie is such an advertisement for why you need to spay and neuter your pets, people.
God, it really is. But yeah, so they just go up into the mountains, and then the villains grab the puppies, but then find that the girl puppy's gone. The girl dog's gone. Missy, Beethoven's girlfriend, the mom. And so then they run off into the woods because they go, oh, she went that way, because they automatically know, and the movie doesn't give a shit about setting any of these things up.
Puppies are such skilled tracking dogs with no training.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, they let the dogs sniff the prize. So this is the one setup they have from the burger eating contest, is that his bow from first place falls off, and so they get the puppies to track Beethoven by letting them sniff that, and then they run off into the woods after him. So they catch Beethoven after some wacky hijinks, and I use that term loosely, in the woods. And the dad, the sigh should tell you everything you need to know about the wacky hijinks.
The wacky hijinks did have one of my only like, there was only one scene in this movie I actually liked, and that was one of the wacky hijinks scenes, which is where they fall through a wooden walking bridge.
Oh,
over,
right.
Like, a stream.
Yes.
They fall in. The bad guy and Cruella de Vil fall into the water, and then Mohawk walks up to them and is looking down, and you could see the math happening on the dog's face as it's just sitting there calculating the distance, the angle, seeing exactly where it will hit, making sure it hits the face, and then just urinates right on the guy.
They did
like, that's actually a good scene.
I kind of do want to. It does make me actually want to buy.
It's a Home Alone scene too.
Yeah, it does actually make me want to buy Mozart merch. I see why you ended up with so much Mozart merch. Because like that dog rides a skateboard and then turns into another like flat toy dog and lands into a bin. He does. He's got a mohawk thing and then he pisses on the villain. He's a bad boy. He kicks ass.
So cool.
He's super 90s cool. It's kind of amazing. That part's great. Yeah, they have a very plain scene there.
After the villains find the dogs, they try to murder Mohawk.
Yup.
And then the villains die by falling off a cliff, drowning in some mud, and then falling down a river, and I guess, plummeting to their death at the end of a waterfall, because we never see them again.
They absolutely die in that scene, though, right?
They're totally dead.
They would have died in the hijinks in the woods before that.
True.
I think they died about 5 times over.
I guess that's the Home Alone-esque stuff. Yeah. Like, they've knocked them... When we say that they knocked them off of a cliff, like, he goes to throw the dog off of a cliff because the family comes along to rescue Beethoven, and he threatens the dog. And instead he falls off because, like, Beethoven shoves him or whatever. But this cliff is, like, 30 or 40 feet. Like, this isn't like a 10-foot drop. And they fall into a tiny pond full of rocks. Like, they're absolutely dead. There's no way. And then that breaks open and they fall into rapids in the water and get swept away. And it's like, they're dead multiple times in this scene. It's pretty incredible. I was hoping that they would actually just go for the whole thing and have a waterfall after that. Because that would have really pushed it over the top.
They really should have done that.
I wish they just go all the way if you're going to do it.
Enough. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, that was one of the things
that went far enough was the house, really.
Yeah. They don't... This is where this movie isn't... It's not a good bad movie, right? Because it's a lazy bad movie. If it had just done, like, a few things where it just takes them, like, that notch up just a little bit more... It would have actually made it great. Because this scene is, like, close to being good. Where if they just then had them, like, fall off a waterfall, and then they, like, come out of the waterfall, and you hear, like, and there's, like, a bear in the woods, and then they're running away from a bear. Like, just keep going! Keep making it stupider. Just go all the way with it, and, like, have them run off after the bear chase them through the woods. Because that would have been hilarious, because it just keeps going, where they're dead a million times in a row. And, like, leave it on that.
Yeah, keep making this movie. I'm listening. Let's go.
Yeah. Hey, I could pitch a much better movie than this. It's not hard. It's like I could absolutely make this movie so much better. Like, for example, I could have it where there's actually an end of the storyline where the dad keeps the house rather than just letting that go off into the distance. It really bothers me. So it just kind of... That's the end of the movie then, right? Like, after that, they take the dogs home and...
Yeah, they go home.
Kind of wraps
the
up.
Dogs have grown up. Teen is now dating...
I need to comment the dogs growing up, too. Like, they hired very closely matching adult dogs, except for Mozart, where they glued a strip of cotton batting to the top of his head to show the mohawk.
Yep.
So good. It looks like Donald Trump the dog.
It looks awful.
Really, really, really fake wig. It's incredible.
And then afterwards, the credits play, and then we get an after-credits scene where Nick Fury walks up with Mjolnir, and Mohawk grabs it in his mouth, and then it ends. And
I was gonna make that joke, but I was gonna say that at the end of this. So it's got to tie into Beethoven 3, right? So you've got to have a way for this to be the setup into the next movie. So they left it open-ended about that. And at the end of it, they had, like, the evil banker come in an after-credit scene and be like, and now take the house. Like,
right?
And that's the setup for Beethoven 3. It's like, oh shit, we got to pull them into the Beethoven verse. But they don't do that because this movie's not smart enough to actually bother with that. I had a theory, though, that I realized on one of my notes as to why this movie... Because this movie, I want to reiterate, it made $120 million. $120 million. Like, back in the early 90s. That's insane for how bad this movie is. And I think that I know why. It's to put your kids to sleep. Like,
it is.
I would absolutely, as a child, I would have fallen asleep in this movie. No question. I was falling asleep in this movie as an adult. It's the Thanksgiving movie. It comes all the way back around. This is what you play to your kids to put them to sleep after they've had a big Thanksgiving meal. And it's just like, you can just send them right off and right away. Like 10 minutes into this film, after the fourth montage, they're just looking at the cute puppies and they drift off because this movie is that fucking boring.
So the sequel to this, Beethoven Third, you know how they're poor at the end of this movie? They're about to lose their house and all that stuff?
Yes.
And now they have a bunch of other dogs and other expenses. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the family's taking a European vacation.
But it's also everybody's recast in the third movie. By the third movie, that's when they were like, Christ. Everybody was like, okay, no, I'm not doing this again. I'm done with this, please, God, Christ. So I saw it. I looked up who the dad gets replaced by. Can you take a guess? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Do you know, Boix?
No, I don't.
Judge Reinhold.
Oh, okay.
The most stereotypical person that you could get to do a lead role in a direct to VHS sequel. It's super obvious. You don't remember who Judge Reinhold is, Tanya.
No.
Let me show you. Here, hold up. This is important because the minute that I show you who it is, the minute I show you Judge Reinhold, you'll immediately know.
Oh.
Is that not the most 90s replacement casting you can have?
Yeah.
Yep. It's Judge Reinhold.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's Gremlins guy. You can't go wrong with Gremlins guy. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, it's just very 90s recasting to just fill him in. It's amazing.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
I like that the top thing on the Google search is what happened to Judge Reinhold.
Oh, boy.
Where'd he go? Why is he not in all my movies anymore? Okay, we've talked about Beethoven Second. I don't know what we talked about, but we talked about Beethoven Second.
We did.
Tanya, do you regret all of those purchases as a child? That's the question.
Well, it brought me joy at the time.
Then it's great.
I guess that's good. I have no idea how I fell down this Beethoven Second merchandise rabbit hole as a child.
I just assumed that Mohawk, Mozart, whatever, the Mohawk dog, looks really damn rad, and they just did a lot of merchandising around him.
But the first thing I owned was Missy.
Why?
Oh.
I don't know.
Beethoven's girlfriend who does nothing.
I think my parents were like, here's a cute Saint Bernard toy and got it for me. And then I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Oh, she has babies. And it just kind of spiraled out of
snowballed.
Control from there.
Yeah.
Because I was
oh my God.
You can tell I am the same person I am as a child because I didn't play with dolls. I never liked children even as a child. But I loved my stuffed animals were my babies. And I'm still an animal mother, so I think because there was a stuffed animal that had baby puppies, that just
you just had to do it.
That turned on my 7-year-old maternal instinct, and I had to buy all of them.
Yeah, it was a gotta catch them all, but with the Beethoven's puppy. This is absolutely Air Buddies before Air Buddies existed.
Oh, it totally is.
It's the original Air Buddies.
Well, I guess we should rate the dogs. I think Beethoven is cute in scenes, especially scenes where he has puppet dog hands.
They did do a puppet dog hand scene for one of them where he covers his eyes.
That's probably the best scene with Beethoven.
Yeah.
All the puppies are cute. Mohawk's the raddest.
Yeah, I would have to say that Mozart Mohawk is the clear winner for cutest dog.
He's clearly...
They had him ride a skateboard and do his own prop. They actually had the puppy get on the skateboard, put his paw down, and push to go.
Well, no other dog in the entire movie ever does anything else. None of the puppies. None of the puppies ever have a scene of just them to establish their personality, and Mozart gets 6 of them. Because that dog, they knew that dog was fucking rad, and they ran with it.
That dog's the one they cash in on.
Mozart is an extremely 90s out of 10.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. God, Mozart absolutely rules. Beethoven is really, really cute in that, like, he's just super tired all the time, like the way that St. Bernards can be, where they just look extra droopy all the time. And so they do a lot of good scenes of him, like, laying down and looking sad, and that he does that really well as, like, a dog actor. So Beethoven is the other one that's, like, close. And then all the other dogs are
The rest of them are just dogs.
I give Missy a -5 for poor parenting, because when she finally has the chance to be reunited with her puppy, she's like, I'm gonna go see my boyfriend instead.
Oh, yeah. She just goes off on a drinking bender.
Yeah, she just goes up in the woods.
Wanders into the forest.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
No, the first thing that she does is just, like, get away with her baby daddy to go and have more babies. Yep. Yeah.
Should we rate the movie?
No, hell no. But yeah, thank you all for watching Rough Cuts. Really appreciate all the shout outs on, like, social media and stuff like that. It is a big deal for us. We've gotten over like 600 or 700 downloads or something now, which is kind of amazing. So it's been really nice to have everybody coming out and supporting this. And we've now started the Beethoven verse too. So great, we've got multiples of them. We have Airbud verse, we have Beethoven verse. We'll never run out of content. We can keep doing this forever. Doesn't that make you happy, boys?
Forever.
Would you like to come back on?
I might be good.
Yeah, would you like to see another of these films after you got such a great one with Beethoven?
That was 90 minutes of my life I can't get back, but also ruined some of my childhood.
Yeah, isn't it great?
Made you realize that as a child you just had the worst taste. Yeah. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. See you in a couple weeks.
Reminder that nerdy kids can go fuck themselves. Yeah, it's the 90s.
Heather, you want to play?
Fuck you, nerd.